This is the first video in a series of videos of the upgrades I made to my benchtop mill to function better for what I use it for, making a bunch of pen parts. This is essentially what we started out with, and what we're going to end up with is the first images you saw there. One of the best benefits I find of machines, lightweight machines like this, is just adding mass. Adding mass to the functioning parts, but also just bolting it to a bunch of mass. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I took the stand that the machine came with and just started filling it with concrete. I filled both the top and bottom first in two separate pours because they kind of have overhangs, and I didn't want to try to push concrete uphill, and I wanted that piece to be completely solid because the mill is going to bolt to that, and we're going to couple the mill to the stand via epoxy as well. So we have almost no airspace between the mill and the concrete floor. That's my goal. Once those were cured, I just laid it flat on its back and started packing in concrete. After my concrete lathe project, I vowed never to hand mix concrete, in a bucket ever again. I would rent a little hand mixer so I didn't have to do it, even for like 3 or 4 bags. But here we are, hand mixing concrete in a trash bin. I think this took 6 bags or 7 bags, if I recall correctly. It's about 300 or 400 pounds of added weight, which helped out the mill significantly. I can tell you from the future that it was definitely a very worthwhile addition for how inexpensive concrete is. I had a brief idea that I was going to build a little mold that would go inside this, so I would still have some space inside to maybe store some measuring equipment or whatnot. And I realized I'm just going to fill that space with junk, and more mass is more better. So I just filled it right to the brim with concrete, just close enough to the door so I could still close it. Then I kind of smoothed off the top so it wouldn't look so terrible, and here we are. Super solid base. Here it's still sitting on its little wooden pallet. We're going to remove that in the next stage and bolt it to the concrete floor. But yeah, very happy with it so far. Getting it off that pallet, that was kind of more fun. I wish I had video of that. And of course, to properly couple it to the floor, we have to bolt it to the floor. So I drilled some holes for concrete anchors to put into the floor, the big expanding type. And I was pleasantly surprised to find that the concrete in this specific area of the garage floor is 5 inches thick, which is awesome. I foam filled the garage floor when I moved into this house a few years ago, so I know it's about 4 inches all around, but nice and thick here.
A few inches later.
Totally different framed shot, but you get the gist of it. Drill a big hole, clean it all out, push the concrete anchor into place, and then when it's tightened, it bites into the concrete and pulls everything nice and snug. So with the stand firmly bolted to the floor, the next thing I wanted to do was couple the mill to the stand the best way possible. I'll have more video of this when we go over the epoxy granite beam that I put on the back of the mill as well. But basically, all I did is I took a bunch of JB Weld, put it on top of the stand, and then put the mill on top of that. I used some copper wire to function as spacers to give the glue, essentially what it is, give it some space so that it maintains a thickness. And that lets me gain about, I would assume I get almost full contact area because the mill is now going to rest on the copper pieces and the JB Weld is just going to fill up the void space. I did oil the bottom of the casting before doing all this, so if I ever want to pop it off, hopefully I can still get it off the stand. We'll figure that out. I haven't needed to take it off yet, but someday I might want to, so hopefully it comes free. I tightened the screws down just slightly until the JB Weld fully set up, and then I snugged everything down nice and tight. And yeah, it should be one piece now. So that takes care of most of that. The next thing we'll go over in this series is very likely the epoxy granite beam that I put on the back of the mill. And then we'll go over the whole belt drives and drawbars and all the modifications I made to the electronics on it. But yeah, that's what we got to so far. I'm going to try to interspace these little mill upgrade videos over the next few weeks here, just because there's going to be some days where I don't have good vlog content. Like today, I was just doing pen cleaning and polishing and like final finishing. It's just not all that interesting. So I'm going to roll a bunch of that footage together for next week's vlog entry. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy these. And eventually I'll have all these together that I can put into a playlist. So I'll have the whole mill upgrade process explained. I know some people are interested in that. So this is going to be the best way that I can release all of that content that I've been sitting on for like a year now. Anyways, have a good weekend, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.